Welcome to the Is This Entertainment podcast with your host,
Is This Entertainment?
Benjamin M. Owens and Jacob.
And that Jacob Aaron.
We got a lot to talk about this.
Yeah, big day
this time.
So we're gonna talk a little bit about Rebels because we've been hinting at it on all kinds of episodes, and we are also going to talk about some larger Star Wars directional stuff and
some drama
in the Lucasfilm
department
world.
Yeah, what's going on with these people? They got the best jobs in the world. Seems like I don't know. We'll get into it.
Yep.
So keep listening. And thanks everybody for listening. I put this message in front of the last video, but if you're on YouTube and you don't have an hour to watch the whole thing, just hit the save button and it'll pop back up in your feed later.
What? Yeah. See, that's the technology stuff that I just don't know about.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's cool.
Word.
Yeah.
So I finally finished Rebels.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, it's done. We did it. Really? Did they know that the show was ending when they made the last couple of episodes?
Yeah, I would think so. Why? It could have kept going?
I'm just saying, like, they deliberately left it, like, completely open-ended as far as what happens with Ezra.
Everyone.
And Thrawn. And it's a little cliffhanger-y.
A little bit, yeah.
For a show that knew they were putting an end to it. Or was it so much forethought that they were like, all right, we're going to pick this up, but we're going to pick it up later, live action?
It seems to me...
That's the real question.
It seems to me like forethought. It was probably an either or. So they probably had two options. They could go live action, and if it wasn't approved, then of course they could backdoor back and just do another season or a different show like further in the future.
Yeah, I certainly don't think that they were planning on doing a Rebels TV show live action, but picking up that story in Ahsoka or whatever else.
Yeah, and we're going to go heavy spoiler.
Do we think, oh yeah, this is 100% spoiler territory.
Yeah.
This is, if you haven't watched Rebels, you know what? Put it down.
It's been a week.
Skip to later on in the podcast where we talk about Star Wars in general.
Yeah. Ahsoka. So now the logo and what it means, right? The O.
Yeah. So the logo on the Ahsoka show is of the little tunnel situation. The world between worlds. Yes.
Official vernacular.
Yeah. There was a little exposition in there, and I went back to rewatch it, but then life started happening and I had to turn the show off. But somebody was explaining how that place worked. No, not okay. Let me go back.
I think it was Ahsoka, because when he pulled her out, it was that was the only really explanation, was the conversation between the two.
There was
seeing the Emperor. So
I feel like there was something about there being like a father, son, daughter situation.
Oh yeah. It was like a whole mythology behind it.
The whole mythology behind the world between the worlds. Ooh. Yeah,
that's the mascara situation.
The mascara. So, are we saying that Ahsoka is the daughter, or is it the owl thing that's the daughter?
I think they're just saying, hey, the world between worlds stuff is coming.
Okay.
I think that's all. I think they're just saying, we're about to mess stuff up.
Okay.
I think it's just...
I'm just curious as to whether or not...
Now, the owl does follow her around.
Yeah. Is she and Ezra and third person that we don't know destined to be... Like, is it like a Neo situation where every couple of generations someone is born into the one?
So you're analyzing mythology as if it's like something that's going to happen, but I think it's something that has already happened. Like, it's the father, daughter, son is just something that's happened in the past to create the thing to start.
Oh, okay. All right. So you think that was a starting off point? Those people are long gone, and however this moves forward is however this moves
I think they're effectively like Force gods, maybe equivalent to the Holy Trinity or some maybe other, what am I trying to say, mythology that exists. Or, because there's definitely like a father. There's more, I would say, more father, mother, son.
Okay.
So they're taking like a little bit, this is their own license on it, I think. So like father, And there's like Father, Son, Holy Ghost, like Father, Mother, Son.
So
This is
it
their own
reminded me,
take on mythology in general.
and I need to go back and research this. Research.
Yeah.
I need to go back and
Google it.
research this cartoon.
Yeah.
This cartoon show. But the depiction of the people on the mural with hands and all that business, it reminded me of the episode in Clone Wars where Anakin and Obi-Wan and maybe Ahsoka are trapped on that planet, where it's the father, the daughter, and the son who are kind of keepers of the Force, or the balance of the Force, and the son represents the dark side, and he's growing more powerful. And then they show Anakin what he's going to become, but then ultimately erase that memory.
Yeah, so it's more like a cosmic Force situation, cosmic gods,
Right.
cosmic overall, like just the most zoomed out version of the Force as like
So-
in its simplest, in its second simplest form. Like the simplest form would be like one thing. The next simplest would be like male and female, which they're not really depicting. They are depicting it as in father daughter. Traditionally, it might be father mother. So they got father, and then they've got daughter and son, which are the male and female counterparts of each other. So they're breaking it down. It's like second simplest form of what the universe is.
So I guess my question was, that's not the same dude on the mural, right?
Yeah,
Because
Well,
I thought they
think
looked
so.
similar.
Yeah.
Are those the same people on the mural?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I
right,
haven't
'cause
watched
it-
the
'cause
Clone
the
Wars
son-
episode in a long time, but I think so.
The son looked like the guy. I'll look it up later. We'll bring it back up some other time. But I thought that maybe those guys were elemental to this new thing.
Yeah, they're basically like the gods, right? Like the supreme gods, essentially. Yeah, if there's such a thing in Star Wars. Yeah, like
I'd love to know what his midichlorian count is.
yeah, Jesus. Two guys drinking coffee.
Two guys drinking coffee. Welcome back. I'm drinking a medium roast from a brand called Elixir out of Philadelphia.
That sounds fancy.
Yeah. It's
What
got
kinda-
it's got some floral notes.
What kind of beans?
I have no idea. The normal kind?
Yeah. I was talking to about
Arabica.
that one of the people that listens to the podcast, and he recommended Kona coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it's from
Hawaii.
so when they import it, they don't have to spray it, so you get less chemicals in your coffee.
Nice. The Kona it's really that like darker
It's strong.
coffee.
It's strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that stuff is the jam.
Yeah.
Especially.
I mean, I think they
don't
can
know.
roast it different ways. Like you don't have to roast it a particular way, but it's definitely stronger from what I can tell.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you been to the islands? Have you drank it from the source?
No, the only thing I can compare it to is Thai coffee.
Tell me about Thai coffee.
It's amazing.
That's
Okay,
great.
here's the thing about Thai. Like when you go to Thailand, they have Starbucks,
Yeah.
but it is literally the worst coffee you can get because you can go
I am sure.
you can go to any coffee shop anywhere, even 7-Eleven, and they're going to have the coffee beans from Thailand. And then they're going to make your cup of coffee right there, and they're going to grind the beans right in front of you.
Nice.
So you're getting a fresh cup of clean coffee, and it's amazing. Yeah, I don't even know how to. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a cream and sugar guy?
Yeah, I'm a cream and sugar guy. I've been cutting back a little bit, trying to like sometimes like when I'm trying to fast, I do coffee with no creamer, no sugar in the morning. Like the first coffee will be no cream, no sugar, and then a couple hours later I'll do cream and sugar. You know.
Gotcha.
Yeah, intermittent fast. That's what I'm.
See, I'll scale it back as the day goes. So I'll start off with a cream and just like the tiniest little bit of sugar. At this point, it's not even, I don't think it's necessary. I think I'm just doing it out of habit. And then as the day progresses, it'll get to black.
Oh,
by the
that's
day.
different. Yeah, no, when I say sugar, honey.
Ah, yes.
So I use honey, and I use what is the milk from, like the milk from the farm. You know what I mean, like the local milk.
Oh, like the non-pasteurized.
Yeah, it's low heat pasteurized. This one is
low heat.
yeah.
Interesting.
So you get some of a little more of the goodness.
I had an oat milk latte from Full Stop here in town, and I gotta say, that oat milk was the jam.
You like the oat milk?
Yeah, wasn't that bad. I would prefer it to almond milk, I think.
Yeah, I take it back. I was allergic to I am allergic to almonds as far as I know still. But I've tested it and it's not as bad as it used to be. But it used to, like, almonds would close my throat up and I would think I was dying. So that was scary.
Oh no. Is that like a all tree nuts kind of thing, or is it just almonds?
Yeah, it's weird. It seems to have gone away, which is really weird. I don't know. I used to have a lot of food allergies. I don't know. I don't even know where we're going with this, but they have all seemed to go away, which is great.
Age helps.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When my nephews were little, they were allergic to eggs.
Me too.
And then they grew out of that.
I just started eating eggs like last year.
Eggs are great.
Oh, speaking of which, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
2021. So today I wore my Baby Yoda 2020 shirt.
Well, yeah, you have to.
Yep. Oh, man. New year, new me. I decided to start working out again, like for real, with some like real kind of gusto behind it.
Awesome.
Especially since I've been just eating cookies nonstop since Thanksgiving. So I worked out. Yesterday was real light, but the day before I didn't even go hard, but I am so sore right now.
Yeah.
All of this, let's just say from going from seated to standing, I'm making some old man noises, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, man. I can't hardly bend over anymore. How do people, like, why are you putting stuff at the bottom of the refrigerator, honey? I can't get down there.
How do I get a step stool, but for the bottom?
Yeah. I need one of those chairs just to roll around the house.
There you go.
Electric chair. No, I've been working out too, actually. Yeah. Yeah. New year, new you. I think
it's time. The holidays is a time to let go a little bit, and then now it's time to clean it back up.
Yeah, and it's been only a few days in 2021, and I already feel like the days are lasting longer. Have you had that experience?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Yeah. We're past the equinox, so the days are lasting long. The light is lasting longer.
But it feels like time is slowing down a little bit. Like, I feel like I have more time now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but it just seems like 2020 went by really fast. Did you notice that? Did it feel that way to you?
Oh, incredibly fast.
Yeah.
Incredibly fast. Now, part of that is being unemployed for 2/3 of it, but for me at least. And if you asked me like what I did in May, couldn't tell you. Argued with unemployment. I remember that a lot. That was a lot of my May.
I'm lucky that my unemployment has been easy, except the only problem is my unemployment, I have to file it in a different state, and it's less because I work out of state. That's disappointing. Like, if I would have got to file in my state, I would have been sitting pretty right now.
Interesting.
Yeah, good times. Unemployed fellas.
Talking about
Star Wars.
And coffee.
And depression. This is a really loose podcast.
Yeah, real loose so far.
If you're still
Let's bring it back in.
Speaking of things coming up, we did finish the song.
Yay.
And it will be on all of the platforms.
January 16th.
We'll put a link. I think there's a pre-save link I can put that in the description of the video or on the website, isthisentertainment.com, if you want to pre-save it. I'm doing more takes.
You want to run that back? You want to try it again?
No. Okay. Go ahead.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So I'm excited about making new music too, Ben.
Yep. Lou, I think my chair just broke.
Get your Metallica twinning guitars on.
Yeah.
You need to adjust your chair. Did it break?
No, I'm good. I fixed it. I'm sitting on a little ottoman thing that has it's one of those, you can flip the cushion and turn it into a table.
Oh.
But sometimes if I jostle about too much,
you slide off.
Yep, pretty much. Yep. All right, so let's bring it back in. Is Kanan a loath wolf now?
Yes, I think he can put his consciousness into a loath wolf.
Okay.
Because the loath wolf would have been alive probably when he was alive, so it probably
right, because the loath wolf looked at him and said "Doom,"
which is his original name.
So, yeah,
I'm gonna go with transfer of consciousness.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we think from that point forward, not that point, but from his explosion forward, his consciousness went into the loath wolf that keeps helping.
Yeah, I think it was just maybe even just for that time when he needed to help them. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And then from there, he went back. He just dissipated into
the ether,
the living force,
if you will. Yes.
Yes. Interesting.
Yeah. Some brand new concepts in Rebels, like spanking new.
Right. You got whales that can
space whales.
Space whales that can jump to hyperspace or hyperspeed.
Mhm.
That's super rad.
Yeah, I hated it at first, and now I'm on board.
Yeah, when they first showed up, I was like, okay, there should be, there's right, yeah, there should be some sort of life form that has figured out this.
Mhm.
And yeah, I didn't hate it, but I also wasn't like, I don't, need this to go anywhere. So then when they came back, I was like, oh, what a fun way to bring them back.
Yeah, full circle to my space is water theory as well.
Absolutely. Definitely tapping into that.
Yeah. However, they can fly apparently in the atmosphere. So, what else? Oh, the Bendu, the sky thing.
Oh, yeah, that dude. What is his whole thing, man? He turned into a storm.
Yeah, he's basically like a god or something, like a lower level deity.
He reminded me of is it Gamork? No, Gamork is the wolf dog in Neverending Story. What's the turtle?
Oh.
He reminded me of the sneezy turtle.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Like just
except less a little time. Like the turtle's a little bit more apathetic. Yeah.
Yeah. Turtle was grumpy.
Yeah.
Full on storm, full on like just deity.
Yes.
Sorry. We haven't, so I'm just saying there's a lot of things in Rebels that are introduced in Star Wars that are new, like brand new concepts to this universe, galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, there's it's at what point is there a point where you become so strong with the Force that you morph into one of these beings, and is it just like a spectrum?
That would be cool. The highest level we've seen of actual morphing is just like Force Ghost level. That would be cool if you could morph into an like deity. That would be another way to maybe bring Luke back. Or if you don't just 86 the whole shebang, which can you now see what I'm talking about? It should be clear, right?
Yeah, I just think I don't think it makes sense from running a movie studio standpoint or a entertainment studio standpoint to like retcon, not even retcon, just blow up all of this established stuff.
Well,
aside from the fact that they've already done that with the extended universe.
Episode 7 did well because Star Wars came back. Then episode 8 came out, and a large percentage of the Star Wars fandom disliked 8. And then episode 9 came out, and they had the lowest numbers of any of the 3. And that trajectory is not so good. So if you're going downhill, and then you bring back Luke Skywalker, and your numbers go through the roof, you get the most Disney Plus subscribers, you get the most like rewatches and statistics, you can see them from a Disney point of view. And you go, okay, maybe we should bring back Luke. Maybe we should do what people wanted in the first place.
But you can do that without negating anything from 7, 8, and 9.
I'm saying if this is the trajectory,
they can put stories in between that time frame all the live long day.
Yeah, there's plenty of time where they like this is not going to happen like tomorrow, like even after another season of Mandalorian or whatever. Like it's going to be a while, but as Luke evolves and grows up, I think we'll get to a point and it'll be like an Ahsoka showing Luke into the world between worlds type situation where like you could have went this way, and it will be a reference to episode 7. And then they could easily just take him out of it. Be like, make a different decision at a different point.
I think there's so much danger in...
You keep saying that, but let's look at the IMDb score. You know what I mean? Let's look at it.
Right. If they said, all right, tomorrow we're going to do, or not even tomorrow, there's a difference between a 5-minute scene with Luke being a badass in The Mandalorian and replacing him with another actor because you would have to, or doing a completely digital character and doing either a Disney Plus show or another trilogy around. And look at Solo. They tried it with another actor and it didn't do well. So bringing him back for 5 minutes in The Mandalorian and having it be awesome is an attainable goal. Doing an entire trilogy, there's so much more or even let's just say doing one more movie with Luke has so much more opportunity for failure. There's so many landmines that you can fall into that
They'll
it's
have to
too
test it as they go. Like if they bring more Luke back
it's too high risk for the reward.
in the next season of Mandalorian, there's a good chance they'll bring Luke back, right?
Yep.
So that is more testing ground.
Yeah, but you still have to smoke and mirrors him and do all this crazy.
Well, they might switch to an actor. They might just be like, "Hey, let's just try it." You know what I mean?
Why not use that time and energy on creating something new?
If everybody loves Luke, and that's what everybody wants.
Yeah, but there's still the danger that you're going to have half the audience say, "That's not the way I envision Luke." You can get it right for 5 minutes. Are you going to get it right for 120 minutes?
Yeah, I think it'll be a testing ground, right? So I think they'll do maybe a little more Luke in the next one, just to see if they're going the right way. You know what I mean? That's the advantage of doing shows, is that they can do, okay, with this episode we'll do this and we'll explore this character, and if people like it, then they can expand it and do more. It's just like Ahsoka. They did it, and then they plan on doing Ahsoka anyway, but if they did it and then it didn't turn out good enough for them, they could have decided this isn't working the way we wanted it to. Maybe.
I fully believe that that at multiple points in time they were ready to give up on Ahsoka. Not so much give up, but just be done with her story. I could see Clone Wars being just the end of her story. I don't know that. Yeah, they leave it open ended enough for her to come back. And even in Rebels, they sat with her being crumbled underneath the Sith temple for a season plus.
That could have been the end of it.
So it could have been a thing where, like, all right, we're talking about what if we brought Ahsoka into the Mandalorian? Okay, how would we do that? All right, so then we're going to need an episode of Rebels to bring that back.
Well, here's what is happening, right? It feels like there's two different entities at Lucasfilm trying to make decisions. And that's part of what all this drama is. That's part of what everyone is upset about Lucasfilm in general, right? It seems like there's a Jon Favreau, Filoni Star Wars angle, and there's a Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars angle as far as agenda or storytelling types.
Okay.
And the Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars storytelling is the Rey that we got, the like very heavy female-led centric type stuff. And then the Filoni and Favreau is the bringing back what we like about Star Wars, from my point of view.
Okay.
And then the story group, I don't know what the story group is, but they seem to be in charge of it, or they have to just amalgamate all of the information and just, is that even a word? They have to just take all the information and make it work and make sure and just keep people in check. Like you make sure they go to the right planets or whatever.
Right.
And speaking of story group, should we talk about the drama?
Let's focus in on what you just said there for a second.
Okay.
So Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm.
CEO, president, yeah.
Something like that. So
I get that she's technically in charge of The Mandalorian, but it seems to me the decisions that are being made in The Mandalorian are not ones that she would make. You see what I'm saying? They're more like she's giving Favreau and Filoni, okay, just do what you think people want to watch.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And what gives you that impression?
Just the storytelling. I know people that didn't even watch Rise of Skywalker, and they watched The Mandalorian because it reminds them of Star Wars.
So why not associate that? If we're associating all the good of The Mandalorian with the showrunner and director, or with, I guess, the main writers, really.
Yeah.
Because Favreau and Filoni pretty much write everything. Then why aren't we associating the movies with JJ and Rian Johnson? Why are we associating that with Kathleen Kennedy?
And you have an excellent point. Yeah. And maybe it wasn't Kathleen Kennedy. Maybe it was JJ and Rian Johnson that kind of.
Because I think it's easier for us as a society
to blame people.
To say it's the woman's fault. Or even to say, okay, or even just to put that spin on it, to say, okay, for instance.
Oh, well,
Rogue One was directed by a guy.
Exactly. This is why you can assign that to Kathleen Kennedy, because Rogue One, main character, chick. Solo, main character, Han, but really it was Kira's story. So I think I can assign it
Star
to
Wars
Kennedy.
original trilogy, Carrie Fisher, prominent role.
I'm just saying, you know, what it is. Yeah, Ryan Johnson turned the story into a place they couldn't go back from. So I don't want to not give him credit for taking a deep dive
Right.
off the cliff, because there was no going back from that. The only way they could have went back was, I mean, they should have had Luke just teleport instead of disappear and die. They could have had him teleport somewhere in like actuality, but like the whole like green milk drinking thing and all that stuff, like what WTF? Yeah, definitely Ryan Johnson had a lot to do with the direction of the new trilogies. But there were other Star Wars movies, which is why I'm mentioning Kathleen Kennedy. And then I feel like she's not, and you're right, I'm drawing inferences from like the ether. I don't really know that she doesn't have influence over the Mandalorian, or she's letting, you know what I'm saying? It feels that way.
My thought is like, as an executive at that level,
It wouldn't matter if she was a she or a he. For the record, I would still be saying the same thing. Yeah, you know what I mean?
if she was,
And trust me, I'm upset about what Ryan did. Like, as much as I love The Last Jedi, I still think Ryan changed the trajectory of Star Wars for the worse, because he left nowhere for the story.
I feel like he opened it up.
He left nowhere for the story to go.
That's not true.
For the characters that we were following.
If there's some big ifs here, and I'll try to relate it to Harry Potter for a second. The first movie has so much to do with Han Solo being this, I don't know, kind of father figure to Rey. But it's very much like it's a Han Solo of the original people, of the original trilogy, main three. That first movie is very much a him movie. That second movie is very much a Luke movie. And the idea was the third movie was going to be very much a Carrie Fisher movie. One of Rey's main lines is, I need somebody to show me my part in this. So she's looking for that person to show her her part in this. So if Carrie Fisher doesn't tragically pass away after the second movie, then
we would have got a different film.
We would have gotten a completely different third film. And I think it just would have congealed a little bit more. Did Ryan Johnson take some huge left turns from what was established in Force Awakens? Absolutely. JJ's really good at having these, like,
Mystery
throwing out
box.
all of these like mysterious possibilities. It's all over Lost. It's the rabbit's foot in Mission Impossible 3 of, we got to get this thing. What does the thing do? It's so bad you don't want to know. That's it. So he's really good at throwing all of these things that like could potentially be part of things at the wall. And then Ryan Johnson pares it down a little bit, says some of these things matter, some of these don't. And then it going back to JJ after obviously whatever Colin Trevorrow was doing wasn't working. And then you still have an established timeline of when the film is supposed to come out. I think Ryan Johnson was originally supposed to write the third movie, which would have made sense, because then he would have, from a continuity standpoint, tied everything up. But then I think that was also them as a team not realizing that him writing and directing the second movie was going to take so much out of them that writing the third movie within that timeline wasn't plausible. At the end of the day,
how do you feel though? Like when you watch Rise of Skywalker, at the end of it, are you like, yeah, Rey Skywalker? You embrace that?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay. It just feels wonky to me. It just feels okay. They're just like, this is just,
it's somebody
like pure
who
fan service.
She didn't like, it's established early on that she longed for some sort of parental guidance,
but then when she
in the world.
she found out what it was, she didn't embrace it. I'm not saying she should have.
But wait, hold on. When she found out what her parents were?
Yeah, when she found out she was a Palpatine.
Yeah, but they're not, like, I'm saying she's actively looking for a like actual living role model, and they
like,
put that together between the three of them.
Yeah, it showed her for a half a second. Dark Rey, like she could have went that way. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, she could have, but then
you can't sell as many toys.
You can't.
Teach
it's
a good lesson.
Big swing to take your main character or one of your main characters and turn them completely evil.
I think that at least it would have given her an arc. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely would have been the Daenerys Targaryen way, and then
something of
have Ben
changed.
Solo kill her as the as being a
To
force of
really
light,
redeem himself. Yeah, that would have been
right?
could have been a great story.
That could have been a real interesting story, definitely. But I think that story would lend a little bit too much to the idea of it being predestined and not being about the choices that you make. If it was, oh, she was born a Palpatine, so she was always going to be evil in the end. Whereas even going back to Anakin, it's about the choices that they make that put them on that path. So she chose to stay on the path of good. Luke chose to stay on the path of good after he.
A more interesting story would have been go with. This is why I liked The Last Jedi. What I liked about it was she's nobody, but she makes the decision for herself. If she would have continued to make the decision for herself and not been a nobody and then went dark, then it would have been a very interesting story. And I think you would have the opposite, right? So you would have that kind of the opposite of Luke's story.
I think
Or
where
like
it
a
kind of
repeat of
ends up
Vader's.
is that she's, well, I guess she does claim being a Jedi, but her having the yellow lightsaber at the end, doesn't that mean that she's chosen like a more like middle of the road? Luke was saying that the Jedi needed to end and that it's all about being in balance with the dark and the light.
Yeah, it suggests that. I just
Yeah.
man, I just wish that movie was not such a train wreck. If I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but I think your premise is right about Rian Johnson. If he would have just wrote the next movie, if he had an idea for where it was supposed to go, then maybe it would have made more sense.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it went so off the rails that I'm not going to feel bad one bit if they just do alternate universe or whatever they got to do, multiverse or whatever, because it's too whack, man. There's just too many MacGuffins in that movie. It's too much.
What should have happened was they should have, and that's the thing, maybe they did, and maybe Carrie Fisher's death really did just derail the whole plan, because if they had like a full-blown, this is what the arc of the 3 movies is going to be, and hashed that out a little bit more, then I think it would have been a much more enjoyable product and a much more cohesive story.
Yeah, and it's a real tragedy that happened.
Oh, absolutely.
And I can't imagine like trying to write Rise of Skywalker after Carrie Fisher's passed away.
Yeah. And using, okay, let's go back, look at all the footage. What cut lines of hers do we have that are usable? And how in the world do we write around that?
Yeah.
And that's how you get Always Trust a Droid, or whatever the line.
Right. Oh my goodness. I know it can be better. So I'm looking at the IMDb scores. Episode 7, when it came out, 7.9. So that's like basically an 8. So episode 7's an 8. And we go to episode 8, and it's a 7. And then we go to episode 9, and it's a 6.6. I do want to remind you that IMDb does not count 1-star scores
Okay.
in their averaging. So if a bunch of people rated it 1 star, those are not included. So to get a 6.6, it's like an amalgamation of 2 stars to 10 stars. So that's more like a 5 point something. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So it's not so great. Not so good. That's my point. So it obviously is deteriorating. Like you can't, how can you go from there to the next story? Just where do you go? Like you just take Rey to somewhere. You're not going to have Luke, all the characters that everybody likes. They're all gone now. And then where are you going to go? You can go anywhere. It's a big universe. Yeah. But like, you know,
I don't know that there's anything in the works for continuing the Rey, Poe, Finn story.
Yeah, and you yourself said you wanted to see new stuff, and these are the characters we have. This is what they gave us. They replaced our characters with these characters, and they said this is Star Wars. And it's like the Rey toys aren't selling, man. It's just a fact, man.
No, it's a galaxy of people. They've told this story. They don't have to tell any more of that if they don't want to. There's all kinds of possibilities. They could jump 10 years into the future
It's a broom cake.
and do something post, or they might just let that live for a little while and then revisit. I'm not saying like from a timeline standpoint of having to go forward from the end of The Last Jedi. I'm just saying there's infinite possibilities of stories that they can tell within the world, as evidenced by the fact that like all of this new content that we're going to be getting through Disney Plus, it is all over the place.
Yeah.
You got stuff that's happening in between the prequels and the original trilogy. You've got stuff that's happening after the original trilogy. You've got stuff that's happening. You've got stuff that's happening during the Clone Wars. It's just all over the place. There's a long established timeline now. And even going back as far as the High Republic with the Leslie Headland show. There's all of these different stories that can be told in this universe that's been created, and constantly tying it back to Luke seems small.
Yeah, but when
Don't
you
get me
talk
wrong.
about,
Look, we all love Luke Skywalker.
It's not that when we're tying it back to Luke, though, we're tying it back to Anakin, which was like all this prophecy stuff, all that kind of thing. So it is a major thing. It's not like it's supposed to be the biggest event or biggest thing in the galaxy. There's this prophecy. This brings balance to the Force. So like, where is that? You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. Don't we want to see like a little more of that story continued?
Is it Anakin threw the Emperor down the trash chute? So is that the act of balancing the Force, or is it Luke balancing the Force by choosing to throw down his weapon? I don't know.
It felt like a pretty important moment when he did that.
But either way, like that being the prophecy, like
we never see
to learn that
we don't see
to
it
learn
very
that
long. There's not much balance going on.
Yeah, like that balance held for 16 years.
Not even. I think 5, right? Isn't that where Mandalorian is 5 years out? So it's like the balance hasn't even held that long. Like it's already disrupted in Mandalorian.
I don't know. I feel like the Empire is still in shambles. They haven't reformed into the new thing.
But it's still like to say it's balanced. It doesn't feel.
Yeah, maybe it's the loss of the Emperor has made it balanced, like from a Force standpoint, not from a who's in charge of
from a Force standpoint, we find out that we never really lost the Emperor. So what?
True.
Where's this balance that was supposed to happen? That's all.
Who made this prophecy? How about that?
Yeah, I'm just saying, if that was the thing.
And how did Maul know all about it? How did Maul tap into that? Because at the end of Clone Wars, he was like, I see it all happening.
That's a great Maul impression.
The apprentice is becoming the master. Whatever he says that.
He was wise.
Yeah. And wily. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish he was still around.
Yeah. Come on, Solo Part 2.
Yeah. Solo Part 2.
So I think that one's going into production.
Like you said, Star Wars is going a million different ways. But it is going forward from this point. And the Mandalorian story is going forward, and they are producing 3 shows on the same timeline.
Correct.
So 3 out of the 9 or 10 shows are following the same timeline. So to me, that is the relevant Star Wars. To me, that's the most important Star Wars, because we're going from what we know to possibly someplace new. If it's just going to go to episode 7, then why are we watching it? You know what I mean? If we know what's going to happen.
But I feel like there's so much, as evidenced by like the Clone Wars. We know how the Clone Wars is going to end. Yeah, it's going to end with Revenge of the Sith. But what are the other stories inside of that we can tell? And turns out putting Ahsoka versus Maul on Mandalore is a pretty rad story that I think you and I both enjoyed.
Yeah.
So I think there's ways that they can live within it without having to blow it all up.
I'm all for blowing it up. I don't know. Let's just say they explore Luke and they explore him. Like, I don't know. Maybe you just don't want to see Luke, or it's because the effects are not up to snuff. But
I just think it's such a tall task. It's going to be tough. Yeah, you can show him for a couple of minutes here and there and tease him out and get that good nostalgia. But like formulating an entire story around him just sounds like that's going to be
him creating the
so
Jedi,
hard to pull off.
That is the story that is repeated over and over. Is him creating a new Jedi Order, and sometimes he fails at it. I think in several novels and the old stuff, the older, what do they call it? The
old extended universe.
Yeah, whatever it is. The old stuff.
The old stuff. The old novels.
Yeah, like
pre-Disney sell-off novels.
It was always that story. Like even different versions of it. Even the story we got in episode 8 is like a continuation of that, but it's a story that like is begged to be told because it's been repeated. Like it's in the collective consciousness of Star Wars fans, and they want to see it.
Yeah. No, look, if Mandalorian season 3 has the Empire Strikes Back kind of vibe of Luke and Baby Yoda over here doing training stuff, and then Mandalorian going through, I don't know, probably some stuff with
bounty hunting,
Mandalore proper.
Taking Mandalore back, yeah.
Yep, and probably some Moff Gideon stuff too. Because he didn't die. He's
still out there.
If they have that going on, while at the same time you get a lot of shots of Grogu training and the back of Luke's head and occasional Mark Hamill voice being like, try it this way, then I'm completely game for that. What I'm saying is
you can't
doing
have a
like
show.
A Luke show or a like feature length movie just seems, and maybe that's not what you're asking for, and maybe I'm just like projecting that
I would
on
love to
you.
I would love to see. I would to see it. I've always wanted to see the Luke centric what happens after he gets all his power show, whether it's a show or a movie. And if I think they should test out casting somebody else, if it's Sebastian Stan or somebody else that looks like him, I think they should test it out and see if we accept it. You know what I mean? If it works, if it works, why can't they tell the story?
And it would probably help to have the same director for the whole project, because Solo didn't have that. So there's some issues there.
Yeah, keep your director or showrunner or writer.
Right. I think what's interesting is did it take that experience for them to accept Taika Waititi? Or was he willing to play more by the rules? Because what they didn't have then was the opportunity for for Lord and Miller to direct an episode of a pre-existing show to make sure that they can do it.
Yeah. And if you have one episode that nobody likes, then it's no big deal. But if you have an entire movie, that's a little...
Right.
Yeah.
So I watched the Mandalorian gallery behind the scenes deal with the directors. Any one of those people, I'd feel good about handing them a feature-length movie.
Yeah. Carl Weathers.
Why not?
Oh, my God.
Carl Weathers? Absolutely. Deborah Chow? Great.
Speaking of which.
Bryce Dallas? Give her something to do. She's not busy.
My whole thing was, the reason I was so excited about Ahsoka is because we're going to see World Between Worlds. We know we're going to see it. So we know they're going to fit with the timeline some way.
Yeah. Yeah. They could.
It's going to happen. It has to. So are you going to be okay? Are you going to be okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If anything, if my thoughts on all of the Star Wars movies and my love for the prequels, the fact that I think The Last Jedi is the best of the non-original trilogy. If there's a thesis to my fandom, it's that whatever they end up doing, probably going to like it.
Yeah, you're not like hypercritical.
Exactly. Yeah. But are they going to tell a good story? Tell a good story. Show me some lightsabers. I'm in.
Yeah. Have some good music.
Yeah. Have some good music. Tell a coherent story.
Speaking of music.
You know what? Maybe even don't. If George Lucas taught me anything, it's that, like, all right, even if the dialogue is crap, I'll still dig it. But I'll understand it for what it's worth. I wouldn't hold up Attack of the Clones versus The Godfather. Or even something like that's genre based. I wouldn't put it up against The Matrix.
Why is it that we have 8 episodes talking about Star Wars? You know what I mean? If it's not the greatest in filmmaking, like you said, why does it stick with us so much? And will future generations, it doesn't seem like they're catching the bug like we did.
I think there's also a family aspect to it. I think like my brother's kids enjoy Star Wars. They all dressed up for Halloween as Kylo Ren or Darth Vader or whatever. They've done that bit. They enjoy the movies. They watch them together when they come out. I think for the people that it matters to, then those kids will enjoy it. But at the same time, there's so much more content just in the world that they're going to feel the same way that we feel as the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the Last Airbender cartoon, or there's just so much more stuff now.
Speaking of content, like the
people to latch on to.
The newest generation of people watches most of the content on mobile devices and like YouTube and Facebook and like stuff that we don't spend. I don't spend that much time watching videos on Facebook. You know what I mean?
Oh no, not at all.
Like I do a lot of YouTube. But I don't know.
I'm still paying for cable. So there's that. That's where I'm at in the spectrum. I still turn on the TV and put it on TBS and see what's on. And half the time it's a movie that I own on DVD, but I'm like, let me just watch 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden it's the end. And I'm like, I could have watched this without commercials and gained 20 minutes of my life.
Yep.
But
cut the cord.
yeah, no, for real. Oh gosh, the problem is it's the sports stuff. Like
sports. Yeah.
Watching the U of L game, the U of L basketball game was on Fox Sports South yesterday, and it's a giant pain in the ass to get that if you don't have a cable subscription.
I see. Okay.
And that's a game that I want to watch.
Yeah, then it makes sense. Yeah.
So I'm going to pay outrageous cable money to be able to watch the sports things that I like. Once they get that cleaned up, I'll think about it pretty seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. It's coming.
There's just so many like licensing agreements. Yeah. It's right.
Yeah. I don't know how it works. I'm not sports. What?
Well, it's similar to a TV show being on Netflix and then January 1, it being on HBO Max. Just one licensing agreement ends and another one begins.
There are rumors about this, like Kathleen Kennedy and Jon Favreau, like butting heads, like it's like actual rumors, not just speculation. But it's like, if these things are true, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If Kathleen Kennedy gets fired in the next 6 months or whatever, are you going to be surprised if she steps down?
Her contract is up in 2021. So there is that.
Okay.
And I don't know. If
it could have been handled better, right? Or is it just because Carrie Fisher died? Are we just blaming?
I think that's a huge wrench in the wheel.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there is a community of people out there who are looking for a scapegoat for the new trilogy not being to their liking, and a prominent female.
Why do you keep putting this prominent female? Like, do you really think it matters that she's a female? Do you really think there's people out there?
100%.
Think there are people out there that think Star Wars trilogy went downhill because it's a prominent female, not because it just went downhill?
No, I think that there are people who are willing to blame the downfall of, or the grand success of the trilogy.
If the trilogy was amazing, I think people would be praising her.
Oh, but I think there's, within the fandom, there has been
a divide.
What's that?
A divide.
No, there's been backlash for Rey's character, a black man holding a lightsaber.
That backlash.
Oh, that happened early on. They were like, "Oh, is this black guy going to be the main character?"
How was that bad? What's wrong with that?
There was some racism out there on the internet toward Finn.
I was really hoping that he would have been the main character of the story. I was really hoping they would explore it. Like that question mark, like the guy waking up from his slumber and deciding to be the hero, that story. My God, that could have been amazing.
Definitely that happening in the first movie, and then in the second movie, the only exploration of any other sort of awakening being the kid with the broom. And then the third movie, having this other group of people that also woke up, and that being the whole extent of that, I guess, other than Rey's awakening.
Right. Which was like instantaneous, virtually.
Yeah.
I know you say there's a little bit of growth, but yeah, she was overpowered from the get, for sure.
Yeah. We also we see a training montage from Luke in Empire.
And that's it. Yeah.
That's really about it. And then he's able to not instantly get murdered by Darth Vader.
Vader was toying with him, obviously. Going back and watching that, I watched him.
Right, yeah. He was trying to get him into the thing.
Yeah, he's not trying to kill him. He's just, whatever. He was only using one hand with the lightsaber for a minute. Like, he wasn't trying to kill him. He knew who he was, right? He's trying to change him.
Right, yeah, he's trying to turn him. I don't know. There was the whole, like, Rose Tico mess after the Last Jedi where people were mad about that. There's just a lot of examples of like racism and sexism from people coming on Twitter.
But here's the problem. It's signed as racism or sexism, but the actual complaint from what I've seen is that it's just Rose Tico wasn't that great of a character. Like, she wasn't that great of a character. Why can't I say that? But I not be racist or sexist.
They're saying like, yeah, she wasn't that great of a character, but then there's people like full blown attacking her on social media to the point where she has to deactivate her Twitter and her Instagram and all that stuff.
That's not appropriate, obviously, but
that's, yeah. So I'm not saying you specifically.
No, but I feel,
and you can have qualms with that stuff, but like obviously some people are taking it way too far. And
yeah, I'm not saying they aren't taking it too far, because that's the internet and that's the comment section. Of course, people are taking it too far, but to necessarily blame it on to just assign it, oh, that's racism then, because somebody doesn't like something. Like I see a lot of that. I see a lot. Like there's even articles been written like, oh, if you didn't like Rey, then you're sexist. It's no, like I just didn't think she would like her character developed. Like,
I do think it is within a lot of people to at least examine the idea of, do I have any internalized stuff that I need to deal with?
Sure, but it is entirely possible to not.
Yeah, it's entirely possible to not like a character or to not like a story. It's entirely possible, absolutely,
and plausible.
But
yeah,
but if if
Rey's story if she couldn't mind control a dude at the beginning of the movie, I would have been way more okay with Rey character's arc. Like, wait till you get a little training in, or show me how you got that power, or even idea to do that before. You know what I mean? To give me some development, like a little teeny bit of story. That's all I'm saying. I would have loved the Rey character if it showed how she got that idea to do that. You know what I mean? Like it would have been, oh, okay, she at least saw somebody or heard about somebody doing this. You know what I mean? Not just WTF.
No, you like that. That is a legitimate qualm.
That's a legitimate
qualm. But what I'm saying is, not everybody has legitimate qualms.
But if I post a legitimate qualm, some of these legitimate qualms are getting dismissed as racism or sexism. Oh, you're just sexist. You know what I mean? Or, oh, you're just a whateverist or anyist.
I think there is a great deal of people, especially straight white men, who aren't willing to examine any internalized bias that they might have. And that leads to a certain defensiveness that
you're like, but I've seen straight white female leads in movies that are amazing. What just came out here? The chess movie.
Queen's Gambit.
You know what I mean? I feel like you're like subtly attacking me a little bit. Like,
no, not at all. Not at all. No, what I think what I'm trying to say is I'm not attacking you, because what I'm saying is, if you have legitimate qualms.
Okay.
So I'm saying there is a swath of other people who get so dismissive of the idea that maybe they have some sort of like internalized thing going on, that they're not even willing to examine the idea of, are my qualms legitimate?
You really think there are that many people that are just so messed up inside that they're accidentally sexist and accidentally racist and can't admit it to themselves?
Oh, 100%.
There's just a ton of it?
Yeah, definitely.
Because, like, to me, racism and sexism is a learned behavior. You don't come out of the womb racist or sexist. You wave, you play, you wouldn't know any difference unless someone said, hey, that person's different than you because blah, blah, blah. Or get some programming in school. Let's just go here, and there's a good chance I'll cut this out. But to me, the fundamental reason that so many people are racist is because of, we don't realize this is being programmed into our brains. But when they show pictures of evolution and they show the monkey and then into man, and they say the first man was black, what they're implying is, and I know that's not true. I know that.
Oh yeah.
I know that. That's bullshit. Yeah. But that is a product of our education system, is what's happening. And maybe there are people that, like, maybe you're right. Maybe that gets ingrained in people and then they're racist from then on out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What I'm saying. So then you go back to, all right, who wrote that book? Who was in charge of creating the curriculum? Who's in charge of?
We won't like the answer.
But so what I'm saying is, that's the whole idea of institutionalized racism, is that it's so ingrained subconsciously in the way we teach people things, in the way that society behaves, that you can't just say, I'm not a racist, so it's got to be getting better. That's one less racist person. But if there are systemic issues that keep one group separated and downtrodden, and
But the two things are not the same. Just because people are programmed to be racist does not necessarily mean that they don't have the same opportunities.
Yeah, but there's internalized stuff that
I know it's hard for us to have this conversation because we're two white guys, right? That's
Right,
what's happening.
100%.
That's what's happening in
100%.
our brains right now. We're afraid to say anything because we're two white guys. So let's just put that aside for now and just say what you're thinking. And then if it gets weird, I'll cut it out.
on the surface, there is, everyone who grows up in America has generally the same opportunity. But I think there are more landmines to not even accidentally, inadvertently walk into as a minority in this country that you and I haven't had to deal with. If you and I got busted for weed when we were 16, even though when we were 16, I know you and I were not smoking weed, but we weren't that cool.
Yeah.
If we got busted for smoking weed at 16, we wouldn't have been treated the same way by the system as a person of color getting busted for weed at the same time.
Okay.
I don't know that. I don't know that isn't true.
Okay. As far as committing a crime and then the punishment not being equal, that might be true. Mm-hmm. The police were originally created to round up black people.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Like institutional racism, like it's built into the system itself. So you could have not racist cops, but due to the function of what the foundation of that house was built on, there could be little racist things, little things that maybe just aren't so much fair to everybody.
We're looking at the going downhill. Like it will be easier for a black person to make a mistake and get stuck faster. But let's talk about the opposite. I think the opposite is where, man, I hate to even say this, but there are some instances where they have advantages, right? So there's the school, what do they call it? The not equal opportunity, the what is the thing?
Affirmative action?
Affirmative action. So there's an unequal affirmative action, whereas they have advantages if they want to pursue a certain path to a small degree. Right. So I'm just saying like that is a sort of a balance to the negative.
It is a way to course correct without addressing major problems. Okay, instead of addressing like redlining and housing in poor communities, and
I don't know what redlining is.
Okay, so it's basically people of minorities couldn't get loans for houses that weren't in certain districts. That's like the.
But is that really true? Is that still true?
Yeah. Oh, is it still true? No, not so much.
Okay.
But if we go back to
there was like a transitional period, right? There's like
a
transitional period where we're getting out of all of this.
But if systems are being created to where
if systems are being created to improve this process, I think that's good.
All right, so let's just go. Let me finish up. Let me tie a bow on this housing versus affirmative action. Sure. I do have a point. I promise.
Okay.
So if at a governmental level, or even not even from a governmental level, from the bank's level, it's established that in the 50s that people of color, minorities in general, aren't allowed or are discouraged from purchasing property outside of the west end of Louisville or the southwest end of Louisville. So if it's just fundamentally harder for them to get housing on the east end of Louisville or in the Highlands or wherever else. So if that is a thing, so if that was a thing in the 50s, right?
Yeah.
So then the schools in those areas, funding is paid by the taxes in those areas. So the East End people who are making crazy money get all of their schools have all the shiny new objects, all the fancy stuff because there's more tax money going into it. And then the West End can barely buy books because there's more poverty and less money going into the schools.
Which was also corrected by busing, right?
So that's what I'm saying. So busing and affirmative action is course correcting on that without addressing the central issue of people not being able to purchase houses outside of these preordained areas.
Except that now they can.
Right, now they can, but we have years and years worth of or generations worth of ingrained poverty because people in 1965 weren't able to get a quality education or quality opportunities, and then it just fed a system. It's tough to get out of poverty without help.
Yeah, and that goes regardless of your race.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's plenty of poor white people, who that's what I'm saying. But I do think it is like you and I, our electric bill was never put into our names as a child because our credit scores, or because we could have credit scores in the way that minority families will sometimes have to put LG&E on a child's social security number because that child doesn't have bad credit already. And that's like the kind of stuff.
Yeah, you say that, but I remember I couldn't get electricity when I was in another state because my credit was bad. I had to pay a deposit in order to get electricity. There's ways, like it's not this or that or whatever. There are ways to do it. It's not like
right, but that was
electricity.
But this is if you're a 5-year-old and that decision just gets made for you, you could chalk that up to shitty parenting.
Yeah, I guess technically they can mess up your credit. Yeah. Yeah, and that's shitty parenting, but you know what I'm saying?
But I guess it opens the idea of bringing that up is to just give an idea of some of the
decisions
survival
like they make.
You just have to make these survival-based decisions, which aren't in everybody's best interest.
Yeah, but I'm just saying assigning that to a race is where I get upset because I've been on the completely broke, not having a place to go, sleeping in my car situation before. So like, where's my help? I had to bail myself out. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's hard to even speak about this. You know what I mean? It's hard to even say this out loud. And then, what do people say? Oh, you're a white guy. So that's why you were able to get a job or something it's just, no, I had to hustle and move to a whole nother fucking city and like all kind of crazy shit that some people just aren't willing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, look, I'm not diminishing your struggle at all or anybody's struggle. I'm just saying that like systemically, there are some things that are a little bit more in our favor, and it benefits us to at least examine why that is. And we should always be aiming for the center of the target. We should always try to be better. Yeah. It's all about bettering ourselves and then in turn bettering society. So
I'm just saying there are opportunity for people. There are opportunity for all people. I think there is now the most opportunity. The internet, like what we're doing now, like we're doing something. Like we're not sitting on our ass, like just watching. Yeah, we are watching a lot of shows, but like we're not just sitting on our ass and getting fat. Like we're trying to do something. Like maybe this won't make money, but at least we're doing something, and we have the ability to look for other things. You can Google literally anything. Like I saw somebody talking about how I saw a video of a girl. She was like written like a whole notebook full of songs, but she hadn't recorded any. I'm just thinking, you've got a computer and you're making this video, and like, why didn't you just Google how to record a song? You know what I mean? What are you waiting for? What are we waiting? It's taken me a long time. I can't really talk because I've waited so long to start making stuff. All the information is there, and all the opportunity is probably there. It feels like it's there. You know? Yeah,
but I'm also saying there's the kids who don't have a computer, don't have internet. They have to go to the library.
Everybody has a phone. Everybody has a phone. Like even these kids that are like 12 years old, 9 years old have phones. They have the internet. They have Google.
Right.
It's great. It's nuts. If you're homeless today, man, I can't say anything because like it's possible. Like I could be homeless tomorrow, but there are a lot of resources at our fingertips that we don't realize that are there. Just don't take that extra step to look. And like you said, want to blame something or somebody or society or this and that, or these rules, or the institution, or the whatever, or the man, or whatever it is. And you could have just Googled something. You know what I mean?
I mean, we all have to take responsibility for this is the system we live in, and how do we function within those systems. But then I think we should always keep an eye toward how can we make these systems better.
Yeah, that seems like a good button on that point.
It's a conversation worth having. No, I don't
want to come across as an istophobe, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like I just have, because I've seen poverty from an American version of it. I've seen in other countries, and it's a lot different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like our version of poverty is still we're still doing all right. You still got a roof over your head. You got a
Right.
bathroom. You got air conditioning. There's other versions of that.
Although I do feel like the homeless population has skyrocketed lately. The last 5 years has not been great.
You see a lot in your end of town.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the soccer stadium had something to do with it. I think a lot of people were like squatting on that land in like tents and whatnot. So then when they cleared all of that, I think everybody who was living in those areas fanned out. And so now but I feel like
it's a lot.
The intersections, every major intersection, downtown, Highlands, I've even seen out in like the South End off of like at the spot. If you're coming off the Fern Valley Road exit on 65, like heading toward UPS.
It's like the same time I said all of these things, like we have all these opportunities. At the exact same time, there are systematic things that are against every single one of us equally.
Oh, yeah.
We have to pay rent. Like that shit is not getting cheaper. It's getting more and more expensive. Insurance for this or that is getting more and more expensive. So the cost of just surviving is going up.
The cost of surviving is going up, and the cost of just being poor is untenable. Like late fees and stuff like that. Like really.
Oh yeah. Oh, my APR on my credit card is like 29. Yeah, it's like ungodly. It shouldn't be that high. There were times when it was illegal to have APRs that high. Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah.
So those things in place to keep us where we are and to not get ahead. So like those types of things, like I'm more interested in like, how can we fix those things? Not how can we, if we overall fix, that would be a major step, I think, for everyone. Am I wrong here?
No, absolutely. No, it almost feels the difference between like local government and federal government. Like you're talking a more like global overarching thing. Corporations probably have too much control over a lot, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking more like, I don't know,
just
the pros and cons of busing or
the local police or like where people live in general. Yeah.
How cities are designed.
That's a mind fuck. Yeah. Like every city is the same, right? It's depressing. And you're right. It is designed from the get to keep people down. Like the working class and certain people of certain colors from the get. But then again, we're definitely seeing a change. We're definitely seeing some progress, and I
certainly hope so.
I don't think people just don't recognize the progress as much.
Oh yeah, look, yeah, things are progressing. I'm trying to think of the right metaphor. Unraveling a sweater doesn't make sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's just it's as you take care of more stuff, you realize, oh, maybe this was a little jacked up too, so we got to dive into that.
It doesn't help that we're constantly, as you fix the things as you go and as you grow and as you get older, things start to get fixed, but there are more institutionalized problems, like you said.
It's easy to ride with the status quo. It's just it's easier to just go, okay, we got a lot of crime, we need more cops, as opposed to examining, okay, what are the exact reasons that we have more crime, and would additional funding to different things other than police work just as well?
Like having a good family unit, a strong family unit is so important.
Oh yeah, but that's like a long-term solution. You know what I mean? That's like a
that is the solution.
But you can't snap your fingers and have that happen tomorrow. You know what I mean?
If in film and television and movies and music, the message is the independent person can do it. That it's okay to leave your woman and sleep around with another girl. Or if it's okay to not trying to keep your family together. If that's the message we're telling our kids, then we're fucked for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a great story to tell. The question is, how much of your entertainment do you want to be telling the narrative that you want, like an aspirational narrative? And how much of it should be a mirror of what we see in the world?
They call it television programming for a reason. What we see, what we hear influences our thoughts. It influences the way that we see the world. And that's why, like, when I talk about lyrics, like, that's why they're so important to me, because it influences the minds of people. And to have just an outpouring of lyrical garbage, like just it hurts a little bit to know like that's on purpose, man.
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of there's going to be art that tells the story of what's happening right now, and then there's going to be art that tells a more aspirational story, I think. And
yeah, and the great thing now
you know,
is that we do get to pick the more aspirational stuff. We have the option to pick it, which is great. Speaking of aspirational, have you seen Soul?
yes, I was going to bring that up too.
Watch
Soul is so good.
Everyone watch it.
Please watch it. It's so good.
That's it. We're just gonna leave on the Soul bit. Everybody watch Soul if you haven't watched it.
Yeah. Also, speaking of family and the family unit, have you seen? I'm super late to the game on this, and it just happened this way because I've been wanting to see it since it came out. But I finally watched A Quiet Place.
Haven't seen that.
Oh, buddy. Oh man, that is a movie about family. That is a movie about.
It's a film. Okay.
Family. Yes. It is.
What
It's a
platform?
horror film.
Oh, okay. What platform?
Horror film with some aliens. Worth your time.
What platform
Very good.
is that on?
It's not streaming for free anywhere,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
but
All right.
worth it.
Films to check out: A Quiet Place and Soul.
Yeah,
What
there
do
was
you
a.
think? Like, do you, like as far as art?
Should
goes-
art have a purpose? I was helping a friend with her. She was doing a project. She was getting her master's in, I think, visual art, and she had this project that was basically like a big installation piece. It was one of those like you walk in and you got stuff to do. It's not just you just walk in and look at the art. So at one point I asked, I was like, so what kind of like emotion are you trying to evoke out of this? She was like, not. And I was like, that's weird. And then she explained it to me of this just exists now, and whatever people do with it or whatever happens to it is whatever. And she was like, I'm not trying to like evoke anything out of anybody or lead them in a direction, or even if there's nothing. And I was like, she explained it to me, and it seemed like something that they had talked a lot about
Yeah, like a professor
within their program,
taught you how to
but
think like that.
I still wasn't on board with.
No, I
I
don't
was
get
like-
it. If art is a weapon used against us on a regular basis based on
Mm-hmm.
the programming that we're receiving, isn't it our duty to make art that has a purpose and
Mm.
a message that can maybe help some people? That's how I feel about it. To just be like, it's just a blob of whatever, is you're doing yourself and people a disservice. Even if you have a purpose and maybe they don't interpret it that way, at least you tried. Like, it's
Right.
okay to interpret it differently. Like, everybody's going to interpret it
Yeah,
different.
everybody has there's really only two ways it could go, but the end of Inception is left open-ended for people to make their own decision about whether or not the top falls down or keeps spinning. Yeah, like that. You can purposefully leave stuff up for interpretation, but I
art in
think there should
general-
at least be something there, some
Yeah,
sort
have
of
a message.
backbone there.
But this is all new to me too, a little bit. When I wrote songs for Born Yesterday, I would have a vague idea and then create the song. And now when I write, it's very like
Very specific ideas.
it's very for a purpose.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And yeah. So that's just, like, sometimes my ideas for Born Yesterday songs would be like, oh, something about an ex, a breakup, or a whatever, or just based like really level one ideas. What happened when somebody got kicked out of their house, or some just a basic. Yeah. And now it's okay. How can I take what I know now about humanity and then like where I want humanity to go, and then what can I put in there? So it's like a way higher level. But then how can I also relate to those base levels? So I'm trying to put all those layers in there when I write a song. No, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
And this is why I think Star Wars sticks with us, is because they put those bigger aspects of reality in there, the spirituality of the Force and destiny, those types of questions, the hero's journey, so to speak,
Right.
in the story from the get. And I think that's why it sticks with us so much, even though the actual quality of the production or the writing is not necessarily 9 out of 10. It's those deeper meanings of things that people resonate with. That's all I got.
No, that's beautiful. Like, yeah, no, you're not wrong at all. There's so much about Star Wars that people latch onto. Some of it is, some of it's laser swords. Some of it's the like Western aspect of it with the blasters, and some of it is the Top Gun aspect of dogfights in the air, and
lot
then
of
there's the
genres there.
spirituality of it and the mysticism of it and the mythology of it. And there's a lot of points of entry, and then there's a lot of universality to it that a lot of people can latch onto. They have the thing that brings them in at first, but then the whole thing that kind of carries them through.
Speaking of making things and making art, our song will be out January 16th.
January 16th.
I think I mentioned this, but yeah, just mark your calendar. And then we're working on some new stuff, which is, yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting a little heavier with this next song. It's going to be a little darker, I think. A little rock.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. A little bit more thump to it. A little thump.
What else? We should talk about the drama.
Yeah.
If you stay to
let's
the
talk about
end
it.
to hear us talk about the drama, then
right.
This is it. So we got Pablo Hidalgo. Pablo Hidalgo, who's the head of the Lucasfilm Story Group.
Yep.
Not a low position over there at the Lucasfilm.
Correct.
Poking fun at the largest Star Wars YouTuber who has more subscribers than the official Star Wars channel itself for crying when Luke showed up.
Yeah. I pulled up his actual comment, and it was what he posted on Twitter was emotions are not for sharing. That's what he wrote.
That is exactly what he wrote in a private, like semi-private conversation. I believe it's like his Twitter is private or something. So like only certain people can see it. So there was like a thread, and somebody before him had already bashed him. And then his emotions are not for sharing.
Gotcha.
So he is just doubling down on top of the beating somebody else while they're already down type.
Gotcha.
Like it could have been open to interpretation, except for the fact that it doesn't seem like it to me. Maybe you can take the other side on this, but to me, it seems like he's obviously poking at him a little bit here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about this situation. Didn't know who Pablo Hidalgo was until last week, and I don't know who the YouTuber is who was emotional.
Star Wars.
I just know that the reaction that I saw from people that I know who are, Star Wars fans was all very similar, like really hit a lot of people in the feels.
Yeah.
Seeing this beloved character come back in all of his glory. Yeah. Anybody like shitting on people having an emotional reaction to something,
which was obviously the reason for doing it. It seems.
Yeah. The whole idea is, like you don't bring Luke Skywalker back to not try to evoke some sort of emotion out of people. So yeah. Now, what I find interesting about that comment, and this is me taking it completely out of context because I don't know what the thread is. I just literally Wikipedia'd Pablo Hidalgo to be able to have some sort of entry point into this conversation. So the line, emotions are not for sharing, it just made me think, if you're somebody whose whole job is to own the card catalog of Star Wars, emotions are not for sharing. So 5 words. It feels a little like Jedi-y. You know what I mean? Like it.
Yeah, like he's trying to say, be more of a Jedi. Don't let your emotions take over like that.
Exactly. Just in reading that and having
that's your interpretation.
3% context of what was going on. Obviously, like giving the guy any sort of benefit of the doubt. I can see a world where that like is either his direct intention is to relate it to some sort of like Jedi thing, or an indirect trying to be funny. A lot of people get burned on the internet trying to be funny. Mm-hmm. People get burned in life trying to be funny. Yeah. Being funny is hard. I've tried to make a career out of it and failed. So I can say a lot of people get in trouble, myself included. I've tried to be funny and it's gotten me in trouble at work and various other places. It could be trying to be funny and whatever, or it could be him being like, there could also be like some subtext that we don't know about. Have you seen Mythic Quest? No? Okay. It could be a situation where there's some backstory between the Star Wars theory person and the Lucasfilm. I don't know if they have any sort of like interaction or whatever, but if there's beef there, if there's underlying beef, maybe there's something there too.
Here's what we know. We know Pablo Hidalgo has antagonized Star Wars fans for a long time. There are tweets of his that are condescending toward several like smaller Star Wars influencers, YouTubers.
Okay.
So what's happened here is he did it to somebody that's too big.
Oh, okay.
So everybody finds out about it now. And that's the problem.
Okay.
So this is Pablo Hidalgo's character. He's just doing the same thing that he's been doing.
Okay.
Which is being meh to like, he was very vocal about people that didn't like The Last Jedi and like basically calling them out and being stupid because you didn't like it. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And so to do this to Theory is like a WTF moment. And it's gonna, I imagine at Lucasfilm, it's a clusterfuck. I imagine they're all freaking out a bit because this does not make Star Wars look good.
No.
Or Lucasfilm.
Yep.
So I don't know I don't know if they're supposed to, are they supposed to fire the guy? I don't know. But if I had a guy like that in my company that was antagonizing my customers, I would be a little upset. Like we got 9 subscribers. And if I went to the 9 subscribers channels and said, you're stupid for liking my channel, that would be the dumbest thing I could possibly do.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So what kind of employee is this guy?
What's interesting in reading about what his role is, and again, this is all Wikipedia.
Right.
It sounds like he's shoved away in a corner with 2 other people, and their job is just to be the encyclopedia knowledge, and then help put together like the art books and make sure to fact check everything. It's almost like they're not replacing George Lucas in the way that I'm sure people could have been like, hey, George, what's the Wookiee language? Now it's, hey, Pablo, George doesn't work here anymore. You got to text one of these other people.
What planet is like this or whatever, like where is it located compared to that one? Yeah, he's like an archive of Star Wars knowledge. And I'm sure Disney is asking themselves right now if they have another person that has the...
Well, there's 2 other people on the team.
The story group,
according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, there might only be 2 on the team next week.
Right. Yeah, don't shit on your fan base. Even
if they're wrong, bro. Even if they're fucking wrong.
Yeah, or make a burner account. Yeah. Come on, man. Oh, Steve Smithens says emotions aren't a big deal, whatever. Yeah. Nobody cares about Steve's opinion, or Steve doesn't work at Lucasfilm, so nothing to do there.
Being a half comedy podcast, I was wondering where we were going to get to the comedy.
Let's examine more institutionalized racism.
I'm hoping that having conversations about institutionalized racism helps to get people to care.
Might as well.
So if Hidalgo is just saying, be more like a Jedi, you're trying to evoke an emotion, bringing Luke back. Why would you say that then?
Yeah.
And sure, having that be your thumbnail is a picture of you crying, that can be clickbaity. But if that's what actually fucking happened, and nobody's arguing with that, everybody that watches that video sees him really crying.
Yeah.
Like he's really reacting to it. I know there are some people that can fake that, but I don't feel like this guy is doing that there. There's a reason this guy is the #1 Star Wars YouTuber, and it's because he loves Star Wars and he makes up his own Star Wars stories and he goes into every aspect of Star Wars that you and I can't even think about. Like that's the reason that he's that. You know? And so for him to see Luke Skywalker and cry, that makes total sense.
From a guy that absolutely. He's obviously devoted a large percentage of his life to this story and these characters and this universe.
He also made the fan film Vader. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Bro.
Yeah?
It's insane.
Is it on the YouTube?
Yeah.
Cool. How long is it?
It's maybe 15 minutes.
Oh, okay, great.
Oh man, you'll freak out, bro. It's cool. It's insane. It's insane. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars creating this thing. Yeah. It's full on.
If this guy is in fact the locked away in a cave, keeping up the scrolls of encyclopedia knowledge of Star Wars.
Not the funnest job.
Not the funnest job, and doesn't lend itself to the most tactful type of person. You know what I mean?
It's more
probably, I don't know, like...
It's not being a people person. You're being essentially a file clerk. Yeah.
So maybe there's some social skills there that he hasn't quite picked up on because not the time or the place, bro.
Yeah. What do we do with this guy? Yeah. He doesn't know how to
or,
get along with people.
if there's already this like group of people shitting on people or shitting on this guy, then maybe it's I want to be one of the cool kids scenario.
Or what
if that comment was in like a thread of comments of all people, like giving Star Wars Theory dude a hard time.
But why
maybe it's I want to be one of the cool kids. Why do you not have a burner account is beyond me.
Why do you take the comment and then post it as your Twitter profile picture.
Oh, yeah.
He took it and posted his header.
Yeah, come on,
Header
bro.
picture.
Can't be doing that. That's mean.
Yeah, that's just outright mean is what it is. Yeah.
Right.
And
don't be mean.
Don't be mean.
Don't be mean. That's not what we're here to do.
Well, it's been fun, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you, man. This has been, I thought today was going to be a short one. I was like, we're not going to have that much to talk about. This is going to, and then here we are.
2 hours later.
2 hours later.
This is probably the longest episode we ever had.
Yep. We'll see. There's plenty to cut out.
Oh, okay. So thank you for watching the podcast. What do you want to say to people?
Oh, do us a favor and hit us with that and subscribe and throw in a comment if you got some thoughts on what we were talking about. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know if we went too far off the rails, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, appreciate you.